The Star Wars universe is freaking packed to the brim with story, probably the densest fictional universe of all time. Movies, comics, novels, TV shows, and video games. It's almost impossible to keep up to date with everything unless you're a massive nerd, like myself. The first 6 movies of the Star Wars saga tell the story of the Skywalker family, and maybe most interestingly, the rise and fall and rise again of Anakin, I don't like sand, Skywalker. Anakin was raised by the Jedi with the knowledge that he would one day bring balance to the Force as stated in some old Jedi prophecy, which to the Jedi Council meant destroying the dark side and the Sith. But in an unforeseen twist of fate, and unless of course you watch the movies in the order they were made, Anakin instead joins the Sith and the dark side of the Force, turning his back on the Jedi. And it's not until decades later his son Luke, who probably at this point also hates sand,
but I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters,
helps Anakin see the good in himself and destroys the Sith once and for all, thus fulfilling the prophecy. But what if I told you I think Anakin had already balanced the Force? And what if I told you I think killing the Emperor brought the Force back out of balance? Welcome to Deep Dive. Now I can already imagine what you would say. Hang on a minute, Yoda said this, Obi-Wan said that, and sure, they said those things, and a lot more, but in a recent tweet by the head of the Lucasfilm Story Group, Pablo Hidalgo says, "Reminder that if a fictional character thinks something, it doesn't necessarily mean they're right." Mr. Hidalgo, a fellow Canadian and career nerd, is known as the keeper of the holocron, meaning he's essentially the Star Wars universe historian. This tweet to me means a few things, and spoiler alert for the end of Star Wars Rebels Season 3 by the way, but it's in reference to Obi-Wan telling a dying Maul on Tatooine that he believes Luke is the chosen one. And like I said, this means a few things. It means that Obi-Wan changed his mind on who he thought the prophecy referred to, from Anakin to his son Luke, and that the prophecy in general is up to interpretation. I think I'm backed up here by what Jedi Master Mace Windu says in Star Wars Episode 1.
You refer to the prophecy of the one who will bring balance to the Force.
And what Yoda says in Episode 3.
With all due respect, Master, is he not the chosen one? Is he not to destroy the Sith and bring balance to the Force?
So the prophecy says.
A prophecy that misread could have been.
So what does this all mean? Well, I think it means the prophecy spoke of a Force user who could balance both sides of the Force at once, not having to choose between the light or the dark. And with the way the Jedi Order ended, in that they were wiped out by a crazy old man and his depressed apprentice, and Yoda's appearance in Star Wars Rebels, I think we can also conclude the Jedi were wrong in their approach to the Force in the first place.
Attachment leads to jealousy. The shadow of greed, that is.
Because I mean, like, the Jedi were cold, like sociopath cold. Distancing themselves from all emotional attachment is kind of creepy, and I think it caught up with them. I mean, how effective can you expect your disciples to be if you have to stomp down on the most basic of human emotions every time they pop up? I think characters like the Bendu have recently shown a more nuanced version of the Force than just the light and the dark we knew previously. And because of this, I think Anakin brought balance to the Force all the way back in Clones.
I don't like sand.
Not the movie though, the animated show. In the show, the Force is personified in the Mortis episodes in Season 3 by the Ones, the father, the daughter, and the son. The son is the dark side of the Force. He's mistrusting and angry, while the daughter is the light side of the Force, compassionate and caring. This leaves the father, the balance between the two. And I think this perfectly sums up the 3 states of the Force, the light, the dark, and the entirety. Anakin in the show could be like Mr. Rogers, embracing the light, or at times closer to a warlord, but I think the conflict between the light and dark sides of his personality were distorted by the teachings of the Jedi. No emotional attachments meant that Anakin had to hide his marriage, and then when things became desperate, he couldn't exactly waltz up to Yoda and admit that he had broken their sacred code. This eroded Anakin's ability to control his dips into the dark side because he was afraid of the Jedi. If the Jedi Council had realized that these feelings were normal, not stigmatized them, but perhaps Anakin could have maintained his ability to split the difference. But he was pushed, and pushed, and pushed until he found someone, no matter how creepy, who could offer him an out.
Good.
The Jedi, from my point of view, were obsessed with the light because it signified purity and goodness and all that jazz, but at the end of the day, denying yourself the fact that we are a spectrum of feelings simply wasn't sustainable. It might have been had they not found Anakin, but perhaps it took the strongest Jedi with the deepest of conflicts to crack through the dogma. So before his fall into the dark side in Star Wars Episode 3, I think the Clone Wars animated show shows a more leveled Anakin, shows someone a little bit more in control of both sides of the Force. There are times when he's definitely channeling the light, and there's times when he's definitely channeling the dark, but I think as a whole he's right down the middle. I think that Anakin balanced the Force by embracing the entirety of the Force. And I think it is this reason that Anakin screwed everything up again when he killed the Emperor, because in doing so he created a vacuum that was filled 30 years later by the First Order, Snoke, and his own grandson, Kylo Ren. But hey, that's just what I think. Maybe I missed something. Maybe there's a line in a comic I missed or a novel I haven't read yet. And if that's the case, make sure to let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like the video if you want to see more like it. And thank you for watching Deep Dive.